Alright, so today we're going to remove the water pump from a 2005 Dodge Ram 2500 pickup with a 5.7 liter motor. We're going to replace it. I've already removed the reservoir for the windshield washer fluid and the antifreeze. It's just 2 bolts, boom, boom. Then you can see these sensors on the back. You just reach down and unplug those. Instead of having to mark them, you can see one's short and one's long, so it makes it pretty easy to know their placement. Next I'm going to remove the shroud, which looks like it's only 2 bolts here and here. I'll let you know if there's extras, and then we'll move forward to getting a good picture of the serpentine belt and all that good stuff. Okay, so I removed the 2 13mm bolts for the fan shroud. That's all that was included. I could have just pulled it up, but then I found out I was going to have to remove the fan first. So there's a trick to this and a special tool you're supposed to have, but of course I Mickey Mouse my own method here. So I used a cheater rod, and I stuck it in, braced it against the frame. Then I added extra tension onto the belt. Then I put my crescent wrench on there, jammed up the water pump with a tent stake, and then beat on the crescent wrench with a metal hammer, and that was enough to break this free. So that's how I got around using the tool. Oh yeah, and in case you're curious, this just spins off counterclockwise like anything normal. So now you're going to want to draw yourself a picture of how this serpentine belt is set up on all the pulleys. When you remove the serpentine belt, you want to look for cracks in the belt. I don't see any in this one, so I believe the belt's still good. We're going to keep it. Using a 15mm socket, we're going to remove the belt tensioner. Okay, so next I'm going to have to remove this bracket right here. And it's looking like these are just like face nuts to hold the bracket on. So maybe I can get lucky and just take those 3 nuts and that bolt out, and I won't have to truly move the compressor or the alternator. But we'll find out here in a second. If not, I'll have to take the alternator and the compressor off. Okay, so that bracket came off easy enough. I'm still not sure if I got to remove the alternator and compressor. But now I'm going to take this pulley off. Again, 13mm. Okay, so I took a look at the new pump. I'm going to have to remove this stud. And I may have to loosen up the compressor to get it that bolt right there. But I don't know yet. So I'm about to take apart the thermostat housing, remove that hose, and remove these 2 hoses down here, and then I'll get to removing the water pump. Alright, so I took and started pulling hoses and just realized it'd be easier to drain the whole darn radiator. So that's what I'm doing. Got a couple hoses off there. I'm going to have to break that bottom hose off the radiator, so I just figured I'd drain the whole thing. Okay, so I removed the pulley down there, and that gave me enough leverage where I could get at that radiator hose and just pull it off. So now I'm going to start removing all the bolts to the water pump, and hopefully it should just slide right out. We'll see shortly. Alright, so I've removed the old pump. Down here, I placed all the bolts in their positions. So I'm going to show you just kind of a breakdown of where the bolts go. These are all different sizes, in case you put them to the side, and something that I would do, I'd put them to the side and not know which bolt goes where. Alright, so that's all the bolts. Then I'm going to keep the bolts in their respective location. I'm going to flip this over and reference just to make sure that the impeller's the correct direction. I've been told that they're all reverse, so you're not going to get one that's different, but I'm just going to check and verify. Let's see here. I think that's it. As far as I can remember, most of the fluid came out this hole here. So if you're positioning a bucket to catch your antifreeze, that's where I would position it. I think that's about it. We'll start reassembling. Okay, I placed the gasket in the groove. It doesn't need any sort of RTV or anything. It's just is what it is. And then I took the bolts and put them in the old water pump so I'd know their placement. Now I'm gonna put it back in. I got to find out the torque specs. I believe it's 19 foot-pounds. It's not much, but yeah, we're gonna do it to it. Don't tighten the bolts. Put them all in without tightening them for two reasons. One, so you can make sure that they all go in. And then two, this bolt right down here, I had trouble getting it in between this wheel, so I kind of had to jimmy the water pump to make that happen. Okay, so everything went back together pretty easily, just assembled in reverse. The torque spec for the face of the water pump was 18 foot-pounds, so those all got torqued down. One problem is, once we were complete, it started to overheat, so there's an air pocket somewhere in the system, so we parked the truck uphill and are running it now, hoping to burp out the air bubble. Outside of that, I think this is good. Have a great day.